right, very good. All right, we'll jump down here to Camille, actually. We're just going to kind of bounce around. What have you learned in 4 years? That was in 44 years. What have we learned in 4 years? A lesson you've learned from your marriage.
Oh, sorry. I have learned to long suffer well.
Long suffer, if you didn't hear that well.
Oh, to long suffer well. We've had a lot of life trials in a lot of short time. We had several job losses, loss of a parent, loss of health for a good period of time. And so we had to learn to long suffer together towards Christ. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we're going to move along. And again, y'all may have answers to these, but to try to hit as many as we can. All right, Jaylee, we'll jump down to you. What advice would you give newlyweds? What advice would you give newlyweds?
I think I thought about this question. It would be not to just the couple, but to each individual, especially for the men. I actually Greg hit upon all of this morning, but for men, for sure, we were made differently than women. Y'all know that already.
What's the book? Men are from Mars, women are from, yes, yeah.
I like to say what Genesis says, God made us from dust. Brother said from the nuisance of the earth, the men are. And said women were made differently because they were made out of, from the rib. In that saying, you're going to change. When we got married, I was 18. I never thought I would be who I am today, and it's mostly because of her that I've changed. But that I've changed in ways that were hard for me at times. And you need to recognize that you're going to go through metamorphosis like butterflies. And it's going to be hard if you don't listen and get advice from your wife. And for the women, we're hard-headed sometimes, and sometimes we put our foot in our mouths a lot more than we should. We should be never, but I would just say, like, for me, it was something like long suffering. Be patient with one another, because life does get hard. And don't give up. Don't give up, no matter what's coming your way. God should be your focus, should be your center, and that I'm telling you, it's all worth it. Men, listen to your wives. So I want to say that. Listen to your wives a whole lot more than you want to, because they're going to help you make the right decisions. Hopefully we got it.
All right, same question. We'll jump back down to Deb. What would you tell newlyweds as far as how they should look for as they get into marriage?
Well, I would say that you need to praise each other with support and encouragement. And also, you need to pray and study God's Word together. That helped us a lot when we first got married. And have fun with each other.
All right, very good. So praise one another, spend time in God's Word together, pray together, and have fun. All right, very good. So some good things there for the newlyweds. All right, we're going to shift questions. Joshua, going to jump over here to you. So what do you feel like young people, because you're still fairly young and still kind of in that newlywed stage, should look for in a spouse? You're not too far removed from that aspect of things. What should you look for in a spouse?
Thank you for considering me young. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
2 Timothy 2:22 is a verse that I really appreciate, and I think we just kind of look at the first 4 words and forget the rest of the sentence. It says, "Flee from youthful passions and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart." So if I'm trying to encourage what a young person should look for one, there's some things you should look away from, because youthful passions are a thing, flee that stuff. But 2, there's some things you should run towards. You should pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. And you should pursue it along with somebody who is, quote, calling on the Lord with a pure heart. So don't just pursue it by yourself as a nun, but look for somebody who is looking for the Lord with a pure heart, Don't get distracted by the pit stops along the way that you could look at, and focus on that. Focus on those inner things.
Okay, very good. So looking for somebody who's seeking after the Lord, that is fleeing those youthful lusts, so try to do those.
Yourself.
What's that?
Fleeing yourself. You can miss, the 5-star restaurant if you're at McDonald's. So flee McDonald's. And I'm sorry, brother told me he was at McDonald's in between classes today, and it's just in my head. Nothing wrong with, anyway, meet off with the idols. But just fleeing those things and then focusing on your appetite being for a quality place to eat. And that's where you should take your time and your
You're saying look for a steakhouse wife, not a McDonald's wife, fast food
That's
wife.
what you said, Brother Jed, and I don't
Okay,
disagree.
well, just metaphorically speaking. All right, very good. Thank you. All right, Jennifer, don't take this the wrong way. Been a while, but what would you suggest about looking for in a spouse? What were you looking for when you found Mr. Jaley? We've heard this story, the elders, when we met with you guys. I heard a little bit about that, and I think he was up praying or doing something when you first heard him, which I think led you to him a little bit. What do you look for, or what would you suggest?
Similar.
Yeah, the mic there. Yeah, if you'll get it up close too. I've heard already. I've got a text said they hear me but not y'all.
Similar to what Josh said, I think as a Christian, you should be seeking another faithful Christian. I have trained my children that just finding a Christian isn't enough. You need to find a Christian who's faithful. Definitely, because hard times are going to come. And when you're down, you need your spouse to be up. And you need to be able to help him, or he needs to be able to help you to remember God. And like Greg mentioned in his sermon this morning, when you keep God as a focus, it makes the struggles easier to get through. Also, I think you should, their family is important. And that's one of the other things that drew me to him, because he had a close-knit family. And they were very involved with one another, and thankfully they also. So that's very important, but sometimes you don't have that benefit to have a potential mate who comes from a Christian family. So definitely seeking somebody who's a faithful Christian is utmost importance.
Okay, very good. I do want to say also with that, and don't take this the wrong way, absolutely true, both that were said, you can marry a non-Christian, right? And again, not suggesting it, just don't want to get away from, and that scare people. And then that idea of being equally yoked, I think that scripture sometimes taken out of context. But those are things we can discuss further. But absolutely, that is best because you have the same goals in mind. Just want to throw that out there, things we need to marinate on and things we need to think about. But they're absolutely right. Don't let me misspeak. Marrying a Christian is obviously going to be best. I just think some people can hear that and be discouraged. And again, we can convert people along the way as well. So I think that's important. All right, so I think, Vince, we're back to y'all. Y'all see this rotation, so you might be kind of see where you're on deck or not as we're rolling along here. All right, Mr. Vince down there, what strategies do you use to keep the romance alive, Mr. Vince?
Romance.
Vince, if you'll recall, this is a question you told me that you had highlighted in your list. Just saying.
I think I told you to can it.
I still have a V by it on my notes.
Romance is very important, but it's kind of subjective. But the things you need to think about is spending time together, doing things that each other likes, and sometimes we don't like certain things that others like, so we have to kind of switch off. Balance it out, give and take. Flowers, gifts, going out, movies, sometimes just sitting together holding hands, listening to music together. But it's subjective. What did you say that?
We're asking you the question, Vince.
But that's my take on it.
All right, very good. And I think that's going to be a lot of things that we've heard in general. It is a lot of give and take. And like Greg said this morning, I think Jaylee or somebody's already mentioned knowing your wife. Okay, knowing your wife is very, very important. And you're knowing your husband, vice versa there. Camille, we'll go to you. Same thing.
Can you hear me?
Yay. Okay, so I'd say do things together, like activities, whether it be tennis. Well, we play tennis, and we play basketball, and we play Yu-Gi-Oh, and we do a lot of things together that keep us connected emotionally, because that emotional connection creates deep romance. And definitely do things together. Do small things throughout the day to say, I'm thinking of you, or I love you, or you so fine, are you so handsome, whatever that may be, to remind your partner that, like, I'm with you, and I still choose you every day.
Y'all looking good, Josh. Looking good, man. Looking good. All right, Jaylee, I think we're jumping down to you. We're going to adjust the question here a little bit. All right, how do you navigate changes and challenges in life together? How have you navigated some challenges and changes in life? You kind of alluded to this earlier. You've obviously changed as an individual. Just, man, 18 when you got married. Had a lot of growing up to do, and y'all did some of that together. But some challenges and things that you've navigated through. How do you do that?
Looking back, a lot of things with y'all already said, doing all those other things together has helped us navigate changes in our life, because some of those changes are so hard to get through. Tragedy comes into your life, death or otherwise. And I didn't get married to her to do it all by myself. So we have to do it together. Navigating changes, talking to one another, laughing about things. Sometimes to get through the pain at times. Reading scripture together, reminding each other of how God is in our lives. Jennifer mentioned that when she's down, you get up and vice versa. And sometimes even when she's down, I might be down too, but maybe I'm trying to lift her up. But we have found using God's word has been very important and helpful. We both recognize that we're not perfect at all when it comes to being human beings, being married to one another, being parents, being whatever title we have. We're not perfect. And so I know she's not perfect. And I know that she loves God more than she loves me. And me recognizing that helps me understand that, hey, we're going to do this because we're both trusting in God. And then walking together hasn't been easy. You know, marriage is not for the faint of heart. So what Greg said, maybe you just don't need to get married. You some of the things that he categorized, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Looking back, I don't know where I would be without Jennifer and kids. You know, I'm not married to them. Hopefully one day they'll be out of the house.
Well, you wouldn't have the kids without her, too.
You're right. Love kids, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything bad against them. Just that when changes come along, I have to evaluate how am I going to do it with her.
One of the things I heard Jennifer say is having kids. That's a big change. And those of you who've had kids, were married before kids, and I love what he said there too, you're not married to the kids. And that's one of the big things, a big advice. You're going to be married to those kids, metaphorically speaking, for 18 years. And then after that, hopefully your marriage is going to go many years beyond that. So that's what you need to preserve, and that's what you need to get established early, for sure, because that's going to be a change, and it's a great change. We got one that's back, but yeah, it's nice being an empty nester the brief time we had. We love you being back, though, Ray. Josh, I'm actually going to jump to you. I know it's a little out of order. I know it's Deb's turn, but Camilla mentioned it earlier that you guys have faced a lot of challenges early in marriage. So kind of the same question. What have you guys done, again, with the health challenges with Camilla, and obviously she mentioned job losses and death of a parent. You know, you were put on, kind of baptism by fire, they say, or, thrown right into the fire here.
Oh, man. There's a... Hello. Oh, there you go. Since you sent this to us in advance, we tried to be responsible adults and prepare stuff in advance. And I had an answer to a different question that I think speaks to what you said very specifically. 1 Peter 1, starting on verse 6, says, "You rejoice in this, even though now for a short time. If necessary, you suffer grief in various trials, so that the proven character of your faith, more valuable than gold, which, though perishable, is refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. And that was for a question talking about, building trust in a relationship. And I just think whether it's trying to build trust or trying to weather storms, we know Scripture talks about the idea of building your foundation on the rock, because storms are gonna come, and whether your house crumbles or stands is based upon what you're built on, because the storm's coming regardless. We did get an interesting helping of it for the past 3 years, but that's, we're here today because of what we did before then. It's easier to weather a storm when you don't have a mutiny on the ship. When you're fighting for control of the ship, it's a lot harder to deal with the external hurricane at the same time. So, I would say I'm trying to make sure that you are founded appropriately and founded together, because Proverbs talks about the difficulties as well of having one spouse who is being difficult, and we see that with the example of Job. So just being able to be founded on the right thing and then be founded there together can help a whole lot when you're dealing with the things that you can't control.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. One of the things they've all done in Joshua, number one, I thought was interesting how he said, I came prepared. And we did give them these questions ahead of time. Jamie said something last week from the pulpit that I thought was interesting. I thought it was pretty wise. I don't say that very often to him out loud, especially in public, being my brother. But very wise that it's amazing, again, and it is amazing and it's not amazing, but God's already given us so many answers to life before we even ask them. And then the reason I tie it to what Josh has been doing, answering with Scripture, which is what Christ did when he was tempted in Matthew 4 there by the devil. And again, we should be preparing like this. Same thing with Joseph. He had already made a decision in his heart, not to do the things, even though Bathsheba, probably tempting, young man, a woman, but he had already made a decision. So being prepared to answer questions, because the world's going to ask us questions. And they should ask you questions, because 1 Peter 3:15 tells us, of course, be ready always to give an answer, right? About the hope. They should see something different. So just kind of what's happening here, knowing things in advance, thinking about things in advance. So these questions, we hope you'll take, like we talked about earlier, talk with your own spouses how you might answer some of these and do this homework together and be responsible adults, like Joshua said. Good job, Joshua. Potiphar's wife. Yeah, I said Bathsheba. I'm mixing stories. Is that what I said? Yeah, my bad. Potiphar's wife. Say, correct me. Thank you. Deb, going to jump to you. Different question. How have you guys dealt with things financially and budgeting as a couple? I heard somebody go, oh my. Mr. Vince, Mr. Finance over here, but letting Deb speak.
Okay, before I answer that, I wanted to add something
go
about
ahead.
navigating changes and challenges in life. No one, I don't think, mentioned that. Changes and challenges will come in marriage, and by building a strong, godly foundation, when you're considering marriage or already are married, this will help you as you go through changes in life. We talked about illnesses, job loss. Remember, if you live long enough, you will go through old age, and there will be challenges there. For better, for worse, is a vow that must not be taken lightly, and you need to be there for each other when these situations occur in life. How do you deal with financial decisions and budgeting? Well, you need to have a budget in mind when making decisions. Say, for instance, if you're considering purchasing a large item, don't go out and purchase a boat, a car, or a house without talking to your spouse about it first, because you will have some friction in the marriage. And have some money saved up for a rainy day. And trust me, there will be a lot of rainy days as the years go by. And if needed, seek out counseling.
All right. Now, I think, Jennifer, we're jumping down to you, actually, I think in the order, I believe, since we got a little out of order. What about finances? What would you say about the budgeting and finance question?
I definitely agree with what our sister just said. I know for us, because when we started out, we were so young. If you do get married at a younger age, I would remind you to live within your means. Sometimes you get you're glamorized by what you see in your know that. They started from probably nothing either. True, I should say. So don't be so quick to want to do what you see everybody else do and have. Definitely living within our means. It can be hard sometimes, but it also allows you to trust God more. You know, there were times when we were first married, many times we were broke. You know, if you hadn't been taught how to balance a checkbook, you overdraw your account because you think you got more money in your bank account, but you don't account for what hasn't cleared back in the day before wireless checking. So definitely live within your means. Be realistic about the things that you need versus the things that you want. And for us, kids came early in our marriage. Finances, and I should say expenses, come along with that, you know, the necessities with having children to your life. But I think also we had an opportunity to go through a big Ramsey financial planning. You know, that was a big help, you know, trying to get out of debt, using the debt so long. You need a lot of discipline if you choose to have credit. You know, don't max it out because you had it. Don't try to live like the Joneses again. For a long time, you lived on one income.
Walter, you get that a lot, don't you? Trying to live like the Joneses.
Yeah, we lived on one income, and a lot of people thought we were crazy for doing it, especially during our time in the military. They were amazed that we had 5 kids and we were making it work on one income. That's what we learned how to live within our means, within the money that he was bringing in.
All right, very good answers. Vince said he wanted to add something to this.
Just something quick. You need to remember when you're one, you're supposed to be watching out for each other and doing things together. And the money should be looked at it that way too. But what I really want to add is don't hide what you earn, and don't hide savings and what you earn and your debts from your spouses, and end up being surprised one day, especially when you have some serious needs and you didn't know that they had something that you needed, or vice versa. But don't hide things from each other.
All right, Josh, gonna go to you. Question, what are some red flags? What are some red flags to watch out for? So this is kind of more back to the datings. You guys aren't as far removed from that. Red flags to look for when you're looking for a spouse.
Luke 6:44 says, "For each tree is known by its own fruit. Figs aren't gathered from thorn bushes, or grapes picked from a bramble bush." Somebody once said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And that's not to say that you can't love them. That's not to say you can't be friends with them. That's not to say you can't be co-workers with them. It just means maybe don't make them your person to do life with. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and you'll reap what you sow. What I mean by that is that if somebody is showing strawberries, or let's say poison ivy. None of us like poison ivy, right? If you're planting some poison ivy, every poison ivy is not going to grow, but you're never going to get a strawberry. Okay, so if somebody is doing something that rubs you the wrong way, or you think is not a good character quality, and you see that thing happen twice, don't think it's going to change later down the line. Expect the person that you marry to be the person that they are. Eric Owens once said, are you okay with marrying, when talking about marriage, are you okay with marrying the person who you're dating right now? And I believe that's an important mindset to have. Don't expect things to be different. And so some red flags you could see, the way that, how do they treat other people? How do they treat other people in their family? How do they treat people who can't help them? How do they handle their own responsibilities? How do they handle their own work? How do they, in any sphere that has nothing to do with you, how do they operate? Yeah. And what do you see there? Is this someone you would want to do business with? Just all kinds of and when these things happen, if you're seeing thorns, don't think it's going to be grafted into a blueberry bush one day. That's just not how that works. Oftentimes I think red flags can be seen, because you hear it, a relationship will end, and they'll look back and talk about all the bad things there. I think our tendency is that when we care about people in our family or our friends or our romantic partners, we're quick to overlook those things. And it's okay to overlook and forgive, but you need to be mindful before you overlook and become one.
All right, great answers. Jaylee, same question.
I agree with everything you said, Josh. I don't have the words metaphors is great though. I think when Jennifer and I were just friends, even before we met each other, our congregations independently were teaching us about marriage, and dating for marriage. And so when we met each other, you know, one of the things I was looking at is how was she going to treat my mother? You know, not that I was mama's boy, but I'm going to be marriages for life. That's what we were being taught. And so I was like, well, I need you to be able to get along with my mother, my family, as I'm going to try to get along with your family. This is my opinion, though. So take it forward as well. Everything that Josh said, I was thinking also, how does she treat herself? How is she going to take care of herself? Is she doing good self-care? Because I'm also going to maybe one day be old and I need her to take care of me. We talk about that all the time. That one day, you know, I'm going to be old and there's some things that I do and I'm
One day?
with my body. You know, that she keeps saying, well, one day your neck is going to be turned this way and you're going to need somebody to hold it up and I won't be there, but I know she will be. Because she loves me. Red flags that I would look out for are, I mean, how she treats other people like Josh was, not just her friends, but people that you see in Walmart or,
The least of these.
yeah, the least of these, right. But also to understand, I agree with what Greg was saying this morning. But as I said earlier, we changed over time. And so just maybe she won't be that way, but let me not just overlook that. Maybe we need to have a conversation about it. This is what I've seen, and this is what I'm noticing. Are you gonna be like that forever? I don't want to be married to, you know, wicked to the West for the rest of my life if you're gonna be like this. Matt?
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I wanted to add, I know it's not my question, but it's something that I don't think a lot of us fully come prepared to handle it, you know, especially for females as we age and even through childbearing years, your hormones play such a big part in your demeanor, you know, and sometimes men don't understand. So I know early on when we were first talking about having family and all of the changes that go with being pregnant, you know, with the way our hormones, even now, I know I'm in perimenopause and menopause is coming next. There's so many things that even the medical establishment haven't fully figured out that, look, I'm going through this, I might be moody, I don't know why I'm moody, you know, don't take it personally, that's just a thing. Sometimes you don't know, and then you have to remember, what part of the month am I, what part of the cycle am I in? So for men, don't be patient. Sometimes it's not targeted towards you, it's just, we're not in the mood. And sometimes I was just even for our kids, I taught my sons to recognize you're in the house with females. And that sometimes we're all synced up. And then my boys are wondering what's going on, all I gotta do is tell them, is that time of the month, you know, okay. You know, just give you a wide latitude, wide berth, just leave us alone. You know, and I know some of our older sisters have gone through menopause, y'all understand, yeah, we don't like that. That is not comfortable. And another thing I wanted to mention is mental health. You know, I come from a family where mental illness is very deep on both sides. And sometimes some of those changes in life, it can bring about mental illness, and you're not prepared for that. And like Brett was mentioning, some of the things that you just have to be there for your spouse. My mom and dad have been married 50 years. And my dad has had schizophrenia the whole time. Now she's in the house with 3 people that have mental illness, and it is hard. So much so that we have been a place of refuge for her when she needs an escape. Because mental illness is complicated. And, you know, to be married to somebody with a mental illness, I can't even imagine. So to consider that, you know, those changes you can't control, like Camille was saying, you have to have patience and know that, you know what, I just have to adjust. She knows when to get out of my dad's way. She goes and she tries not to, you know, trigger him, you know, say things that he would just be really sensitive to. But even after being married 50 years, she's still involved.
All right, thank you. Yeah, very, very good. And I was going to say, and Jennifer had mentioned it earlier about family, before getting married, and then he mentioned that as well in this vein also. Red flags could even be the family and making sure, because that's going to be a big part of it. And even now what you're mentioning, some of the challenges that come along with that as well. One of the other things that I appreciate she mentioned, and we don't have any questions specifically about the sexual side of a relationship, but that is something, again, that we need to be not open, obviously, in the sense of talking about it amongst individuals in our personal situations, but that is something that God designed that is part of a marriage. And it is there with a purpose, and it is there, but then again, we do need to be understanding about that and understanding needs. So again, just glad you brought some of those things up, just being very, transparent about those types of things, mentioning that. Coming back down your way, Vince. Question is, how do you still handle conflicts and disagreements? Conflicts and disagreements, how have you handled some of those over the years?
One of the things I want to say on that issue is, if you can always pray with your partner when you're having conflicts and disagreements, it's hard to be upset with somebody when you can sit down and hold their hands and pray with them. That's how we normally handle things. But we try to also look at, is this disagreement really worth the hassle? What is the disagreement? Weigh it. Is it something serious? Is it something trivial? What you eat tonight, you might like this or that, but that's not a big thing to get upset over about. So you have to kind of weigh what you're getting, having conflict and disagreements on. But if you keep that avenue open to be fair, be objective, be what God said we ought to be in a marriage and to each other, even as Christian brothers and sisters. But if you can pray with somebody when you're upset, and they can pray with you, you'll be surprised how quick the disagreements go away.
Right. Thank you. One or two more here real quick, because our time is getting away from us. I think Camille, we'll come to you. How did you know that this spouse, Joshua in your case, how did you know he was the right one?
Great question.
Great question. All right.
I have notes, so I'll just read my notes. So, yes, great. So when I was looking for someone, I was looking to see if their character aligned with the Lord's character. So if the Lord is patient, kind, long-suffering, so forth. I was looking, okay, does this man align with this? And Joshua did. Obviously not perfectly, because he's not God, but he aligned with the Lord's character. We had the right timing, so we were both single. I was not trying to take him from someone. He wasn't trying to take me from someone. We shared the same values, and we shared some of the same goals. I knew that he loved God more than me, but it was obvious that he'd give anything for me. And so that was the biggest thing. And then when I examined my relationship with our in-laws, I was like, okay, is this something that I can handle? And it was. And that's how I knew.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to ask two questions of everybody, and we're talking 30 seconds, all right? So this is one of these very, very quick, but they're the types of things, maybe kind of that one thing that you could say. So going down through here, might skip you two on this one, but the more seasoned, I almost said older. I'm trying to watch my tongue here. All right, right here. What advice would you give newlyweds? So just like one thing, and y'all see it coming. We'll just go here. Deb, Vince, what advice would you give? So this is 30 seconds.
Keep God first in all your decisions.
Honesty, always be honest and open.
All right, so keep God first in all your decisions. Honesty. Deb.
Someone who you can talk to, someone who you can easily talk to, who's a good listener, compassionate.
Okay, so again, keeping God first, honesty, someone you can communicate with, talk with, and that's compassionate, and Vince.
There are a lot of things I could say on
Yeah,
this
exactly. You
one.
got to pick one. Pick that good nugget there, Vince.
One of the things that when I was looking at Deb, what was the question again? I'm not sure.
One piece of advice for newlyweds that you'd give. We all need to prepare for this. You know, nowadays with the videos, they come to you at the reception.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell them? You know, be ready. Can something.
I would just say, keep prayer in your relationship.
All right, so to summarize,
yeah.
again, keep God first, honesty, somebody you can communicate with that's compassionate, and keep prayer. And again, there was one other I felt we could run through like that. I'm trying to find what it was, where it was. Oh, am I not going to find it? See if I can find it here real quick. Well, so we're running out of time, but I wanted to try to get them all done here pretty close to it. All right, here we go. Yeah, what are some ways, here it is, number 9, again, 30 seconds, going everybody here. What are some ways you found to keep the connection strong? And again, I guess that could be romantic, that could just be, you know, just the whole relationship. Keep things strong.
A few things, like we laugh a lot with one another, laugh at each other sometimes, and with one another. So it's important to do both. To know that you're not picking at one another, spending time with one another, and going on dates would be for us, Walmart, or not necessarily at a restaurant, because you know you get busy. Take every chance you can to spend that time with your spouse. It doesn't have to be that special time. It needs to be sometimes, but you know we went to Home Depot yesterday.
Yeah.
We didn't get out of there before we spent.
I took, yeah, one of your anniversaries, your Crystal anniversary, I literally took her to Crystal. So yeah, she likes Crystal. That was our Crystal anniversary. Yeah, yeah. Here we go. Go ahead.
Communication. Communication is something that you're gonna always need. You know, sometimes when you're in the heat of whatever problem or situation you're experiencing, even if you're not willing to talk in that moment, just let it be known. You know, I need some time. You know, I'm not avoiding you. I need some time. So definitely communication. Always keep communication open. If you can't verbally say what you need to say, write it down. Sometimes when you're able to write it down, they get feelings better. You can check it, make sure it's not coming across in a way that's going to seem attacking. So always communicate.
All right, very good. Camilla.
I'd say 2 things: transparency, and if this one is not TMI, just good time in the bedroom. I think that just keeps you high for a while.
All right, there you go.
A joyful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. It's Proverbs 17:22. Laugh together. Somebody once said, pray, plan, and play together. Find sustainable habits. Muscles atrophy, so find something sustainable to keep, if you want to keep the relationship and connection strong. You have to work it out. Otherwise, muscles atrophy.
Very good. All right, Deb and Vince. Keeping that connection.
Praying and talking to each other, encouraging and respecting each other, and just doing little things to each other to let them know that you care and love them.
And finally, Vince.
Again, appreciate each other. You know, in a house, normally you have chores to do. Make sure you do help each other with the chores, the spouses, and do your part so they don't have to do everything. That's a great thing to do together. And realize, too, that your spouse sometimes they have a lot of separate interests that they want to get involved in, and give them space to do some of the things they want to do, too. You don't always have to do everything together, but give them some space to do some things that they want to do, too.
All right, I think this was very, very good, and these are the types of things we could do for a long time. As we said, we do got birthdays we're going to do very quick before we dismiss, but go ahead and make sure that you take these questions, and again, spouses have these similar discussions together. I want to thank these couples. We had a lot of other couples. We obviously did ask some different ones. Some people aren't as comfortable just in a public setting and things of that nature, but hopefully with people that you feel comfortable with, discuss marital things, ask questions. Obviously, these 3 couples that volunteered their time today are probably open to discussions beyond this, but again, as a family, we need to discuss these things. I think this has been beneficial, and hopefully we'll continue to do more things like this. So our kiddos should be coming back in. Kevin, do you have the PowerPoint of birthdays? All right, and we're going to recognize our birthdays. Thank you to these folks. for their time and all today. We can clap. We're not in worship. We'll make sure that's clear online. We don't typically clap in worship, but this isn't worship. We've said that when we do things like this, we want to make sure the world out there knows that we've separated. And I think we do try to make that clear. But thank you to this panel today for sure. All right, Kevin, do we have it up here? As you know, we have gone to doing birthdays July and August, or 2 months, this being July and August. So we have the birthdays up here. We'll quickly go through these. But again, I think the simplest thing to do, if you are born in July, if you will, stand. If you were born in July and you're on this list, we got Mr. Ethan Rogers, Bill and Gloria Cook. Happy birthday. I see some kids standing, but I think they may have just come in. But you can see here the first all the way back there with David, and then Vanell Sutherland was the end of that. All right, I guess we're done with them. Happy birthday, July, folks. And is that a garnet? Is that, Bill, is that your birthstone? Oh, my goodness, Bill. Gloria, is that your birthstone? It's a ruby. There you go. It's a ruby. All right. Bill, you learned that today. All right? You learned that today. That's been your birthstone a while, Bill. How many years, Bill? You didn't really have to tell us, but happy 78th birthday there, Bill. All right, so happy birthday to our July babies. One of the things why this is going on and off, this is because of an operating system thing. This isn't Kevin and Doug. I don't want you to look at them crossways. I do sometimes. I'm always texting and calling and go, why did that happen? Why did this happen? But I understand they updated an operating system, but it doesn't like the computer we have or something. So they're working on it. Right, Kevin? All right, he's giving us a thumbs up. All right, so is this an emerald, August people? Is this an emerald? Peridot? P-E-R-I-D-O-T, right? A peridot. All right, you peridot babies, stand up. Our August folks, if you're up here. All right, we got Jennifer down here. All right, two. Got Steve. Oh, Juan. Who else do we got? Abby up here. Oh, Olivia up top. Allison, you're just standing up. You're December. Sit down, Allison. You're not supposed to. It's not your birthday. Just kidding, Allison. All right. So our August folks, we got 4 or 5 of you up. Right back here, Megan Parker is standing in the back. You know how much she loves attention. Everybody wave at Megan. Happy birthday, Megan. Back there in the back. Oh, Langston right here in the middle doing a pirouette. Peridot pirouette. All right, anybody else? We got cake and ice cream in the back. Great to see everybody. Anything else for our birthdays? Anything? All right, it's been great to be with you. Hopefully you feel edified and equipped. Let's attack the week. Have a great day. Go eat some cake.